welcome once again to Keep Kicking Martial Arts Podcast. Our martial arts conversations with my martial arts friends. Today, I am going to do something different. We are sitting down and we are having a conversation with someone who's a current student of mine. And he is using martial arts as part of the means to his own recovery and his overcoming his own personal struggles. So this particular podcast where I sit down and I talk to Josh is kind of an introduction. And our hope is that somewhere like 6 months, maybe, maybe sooner, maybe not, we sit down with him again and we talk more in depth about how martial arts is helping him maintain sobriety, how martial arts is helping him cope with and develop his discipline and the muscle that is needed to maintain balance, to maintain stability. I need to use this time as a little bit of housekeeping. I want to express my sincerest apologies for a couple of technical issues I had. There's about a minute of audio missing out of episode 2, some sort of issue I feel with my upload. And then again, the intro that was on episode 4, the previous episode, it doesn't have audio as well. This is a learning curve for me. This is a one-man show. It's just me. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm okay with the technical difficulties. This podcast is also interesting to me because a student said, "What do you do if you don't get any viewership?" And my answer was, I keep going. Because for me, these conversations are about cataloging the thoughts, philosophies, the experiences, and those moments where the people that I sit down with give the advice that everyone needs to hear that is practicing martial arts or thinking about practicing martial arts. So for me, this is a catalog. I recorded probably 10 or 12 of these during the first weekend that I was recording. And when I published the first one, I didn't know what to expect. And I saw some numbers and I was pleased, not in the numbers, but I was pleased with the people that were reaching out to me and expressing, no, this is really good. You're doing good. We appreciate these conversations. I've learned from these conversations or have grown in some capacity from these conversations. And that's why I'm doing it. But the other thing is, after that first weekend where I recorded 12, I was sitting down and I was thinking about people that I wanted to record. And the number of individuals that I wish to have talked to that are no longer with us is one, alarming, but two, also a reminder of exactly how impermanent life can be and about how now is the best time to react and the best time to do and the best time to do whatever that is. Hope that everybody that listens gets that from these podcasts. Want to do a podcast? Just do it. Just do it. There's no right or wrong. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Because the person that you might want to interview a year from now, when you think you've got it figured out, they might not be here. I most regret that I didn't start this a decade ago and talk to some of my instructors that are no longer with me, like Mike Whiting. It is heartbreaking because I would have liked to have heard his perspective on some of these things. So, that bit of housekeeping aside, episode 3 with Richard White. I had a viral clip that went crazy because of hate in the comments. And I had to decide for myself how I am going to deal with those type of situations. And originally it was like, oh, I'll just make another minute-long video to respond to these people. These podcasts are long form for a reason. I prefer and I enjoy long form conversation. And I also think that having a long form conversation is important to fully understand the subject. My viral video, viral is a weird word. The video that got a lot of hate, where I expressed the feeling that police officers have one of the toughest jobs in our society. Everybody came in the comments immediately hating on police officers, which I do understand because there are some bad apples, but they do not always ruin the whole bunch. I was going to look up the number of police officers that are in the United States. I was going to look up the number of correctional officers that were in the United States. And then I was going to look up the number of negative incidents so that we had a statistic to go with that. That feels like fuel to a fire that I do not wish to stoke. It feels like a moot point in a conversation that is missing the mark. The mark is this. We have one of the most stressful jobs in our society. The reason that some of those eggs break under that pressure is because they are not supported. Yeah, I think that the individuals that do break and do things nefariously need to be put in check. I think that police officers that are just bullies or are racist need to be checked. I think that the number of those individuals versus the number of the individuals that are out there trying to keep us safe and do the right thing, I think it's a very small fraction of the people. And I think there are a lot of people that have targets on their back and get a bad rep for being something that they're not. I also think that the people that end up cracking and doing things that are not good, I think that occurs because they're not supported. Support for me is training, learning de-escalation techniques, training, learning how to better handle yourself hand to hand, uh, learning how to be more tactful, which is something that we can all do. We can all get better at these things, even if you are great at it. I also think that they should have stronger health services provided to them so that they can seek out help and talk through the things that they experience and witness night after night. That's what I meant when I said that they are that I hope that clears it up. I hope it clears it up. And if it doesn't clear it up for the couple of individuals that were in my comment section, that just means that you're looking at a minute video and you are not looking at the totality of the story that is in front of you. And that's a quick way to be upset. To Josh, because he is a student and because we are trying to take this particular podcast, this particular episode into a different approach, there is a Zen story that I would like to tell. I will keep it very brief, and the hope is that my audience understands the through line that exists between that story and Josh. There was a famous master in Japan, and he retired. When he retired, he sold his school and he moved to the mountains. Nobody knew where he was. And there was a student who was enamored by the legend that was this master. And so he also sold all of his stuff, packed a backpack, and headed into the mountains to search for this. He spent over a year hiking the mountains of the countryside trying to find him, and finally stumbled upon the tiny little hut that the master had built for himself. When he does, he goes to the master and he says, "I've searched for over a year for you. I left behind everything that I had in the village and I've scoured these mountains to try and find you. I'm begging you, I'm imploring you to please teach me." And the master, reluctant because he had retired, but seeing the hope and the dedication that existed in that student's eyes, reluctantly said yes. And he said, "If you give me 5 years of your life, I will teach you everything." And the kid goes, "5 years? You don't understand. I've already spent more than a year looking for you. I will be the most dedicated student you have ever know. I will work every waking hour. I will eat one meal a day. I work so hard. And the master said, in that case, it'll probably take you 10 years. I said, 10 years? What are you talking about? You don't understand. One meal a day. I'll sleep 4 hours a night. I'll work 19 hours a day. I will do nothing but movements and technique until my body collapses and can't any longer. The master says, in that case, it will probably take you 15 years. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Josh. And I hope you
keep kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, once again, everybody, and welcome to Keep Kicking Martial Arts Podcast, where I have martial discussions with other martial artists. Today, I'm with Joshua. I don't know if you like Josh or Joshua better, but I'll kick it over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Joshua Bush, and I'm a comedian, a lifelong martial artist. I started at a young age doing boxing. I started boxing when I was in the 4th grade in Covington, Kentucky. School that I went to was in the ghetto, but an outlet for us kids to stay out of the streets was a boxing school that they had in the school. And from there, I moved on to I was in the military and I studied a little bit of BJJ and after that I got out and I got interested in just everything I could. I tried to absorb everything I could, but what really stuck with me was the boxing and the BJJ. That's where I figured if I could stand up, hold my own, or if somebody tried to take me out.
Absolutely. Well, so let's start with boxing. You started boxing 4th grade. How long did you do boxing? Did you compete?
Yeah, I competed for a while until I ran into this Russian kid that I went to school with. Yeah, when I was punching him, it felt like I was just hitting a wall and I was not affecting him at all, and then he knocked me out. I come to and I didn't remember nothing. I come to and I was like, when are we going to start the fight? And they were like, you already got knocked out, buddy. It's fine.
So you got started at 4th grade, and was it the fact that you needed something to do that got you started, or why boxing and why 4th grade? Why'd you get started?
Well, I come from every male in my family, we're a part of this culture where we all were every firstborn, and I'm firstborn. We're all expected to go to the military and fight. And it's been like that my whole. I can trace my lineage all the way back to when they was fighting captives and stuff like that. And we'd all unite and stuff like that. So my family takes a lot of pride in that. And we would, incredibly violent people. They'd get into a lot of bar fights and stuff like that. And I had a lot of ways to wake up because my dad was in prison and stuff like that. So I'd get in a lot of fights in school. And my mom seemed to, seemed that this is what you're going to do. She's like punching people in the face and they're going to give you a constructive.
Your mom's like, if you're going to paint, I'm going to at least give you a canvas.
Stop painting on my wall.
Right. Stop painting on the walls. Stop painting on the school walls. I'm going to give you a canvas. What do you think has been the contributing factor for keeping you in the martial arts?
Keeping that demon inside me that day. So keeping it from hurting anybody else. On the inside, I don't want to hurt anybody. But at the same time, I have this very quick temper. And that temper leads to, I just going to punch you in the face. I'm not going to talk about it. We're just going to throw hands, and who's the best man wins.
There's an awful lot of, I said in class last week, Hatsume, the last living practitioner of Budo Taijutsu, he's quoted as saying, when I teach martial arts, I teach people how to control demons. Sometimes a demon is in front of you, sometimes a demon is within you. And I have found that to be a very prolific statement because everybody in martial art is either in martial art because someone hurt them externally and they are afraid and they feel the need to conquer that fear and they feel the need to find a way to not let that situation happen again. Or there's something within them that has caused some sort of chaos because they can't control it and they are looking for a way to control it. So I do think that is very, 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 very prolific. What do you think as do you think that we talked about there's a third option? Those two options exist, and in some of the previous podcasts I've talked with fellow instructors and people that I've known for a long time, and I've asked them what has kept them. And another common answer is a thirst, because martial arts is a bug. So like whatever brought you to martial arts doesn't have to be what kept you there. There's also the idea of just being captivated by the art itself, having to learn more and have it. Do you have any of that?
Oh yeah, that developed kind of rather quickly. Learning the new skills and techniques. I was just I was completely enthralled in it. I just fell in love with it.
Talk to me about how martial art helps control the anger and control that demon. How does it pacify it? Tell me about it.
Well, it pacifies it. Like, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that question because I just know it does. Sit there and reflecting on it. It's a good question. For me, it's an outlet so I can hurt somebody. And it gives me the knowledge knowing that I can. And that knowledge knowing that I can and the discipline that comes with it allows me to stop and think and breathe and be like, Joshua, you can really hurt this person. They might not know as much as you, and if you hit this person the wrong way, you might do some severe damage to them. So you might want to just calm down, take a walk, do some breathing exercises or something. But you just go around, breaking people's arms.
Right there. That is a good way of articulating what it is and why it is. Because there is a thing that exists among the masters. It's called master knowledge, and it's the idea that martial artists have three speeds: holding back, neutral, or a coast speed, and then actually putting effort for it. And as a teacher, you're gonna see me in the holding back. I'm pulling on the reins of the horse to almost coasting. Yeah, and I as a master, as somebody that's been doing it for so long, I should never get in class or in practice past coast, because that means I've kind of lost my control of the thing, and it means that my anger or ego or emotion of some capacity is pushing me over into that other space because, oh, I'm being shown up or whatever. No, I when I roll with somebody while I'm teaching them, my job is to be a pain in the ass. My job is to be difficult, to allow you to work technique or to allow you to do more, or be difficult in a way that it just shows you the mistake that's being made, the thing that sucks, you know? But it's never about like, I can immediately break your arm and I need to show you that. So you're applying that same concept to the rest of the world. You're applying that concept of, I know enough that I can fuck you up, so I'm not going to fuck you up. And I very much implore that. So, very briefly, as part of your story, I do need to talk about your own personal struggles. I am not going to out you for anything, and I just want you to, we don't have to go into detail like we talked about. I just need you to say whatever you're comfortable with saying about your own struggles, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how the two intertwine and such. So I'll kick it back over to you. Tell the people of your struggle.
What my struggle? Well, like I said, I come from a very violent and dysfunctional family. They were all drinkers and partiers. Well, growing up, that's what I thought life was. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was just a big party. So when I got older, I just carried that on because I didn't know what was right. I thought that was, proper and stuff like that. And everybody around me seemed to do the same thing, so it was fine until I got older and I started having kids. And it got to the point where I couldn't find a job. I was in a terrible little town. So I started trapping marijuana. And I lost my kids over it. When I lost them, I got really depressed. I was spending hundreds of dollars on a day on painkillers with my hands. I got two very destroyed hands from the military. And they was giving me painkillers, and it was just awful. But once I wasn't able to get those painkillers anymore, I turned to heroin. And that just ate my life completely. And it seemed like it just, I remember a time that I was so, I had the willpower to say, I don't want to do this anymore, but I would leave that as soon as I was walking to a room and see the needle in the room. And it seemed like I would black out, and then I'd come too high, and I always ask myself, man, why did I do this again? Why did I do this again? And it took a lot of AA and working with that to actually realize, this is why. I'm surrounded by all these people that don't want nothing else besides this. You've got to cut the battery off the tree. After that, it's been a constant battle to stay sober.
But at current, you are winning that battle.
Right now,
And right now, that's all that's important, because all that we have is the present moment. And that works no matter what religion you are, what martial art you are, the present moment. So I will also say, I do plan on interviewing more students, but you are the first student that I've interviewed. And I like the idea of this podcast not only talking to instructors and people that have done this ad nauseum and taught a plethora of students, but also talking to the students themselves. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. My success at being a teacher is that I'm a student first. I am always looking at things from how can I learn. I'm watching people after I tell them to do a technique or show them to do a technique. I am watching them do it so that I can dissect how their brain has interpreted it. It's always a student process. And I think that that comes with a certain amount of grace. I hope that I extend that grace to my students as I teach, and I hope that they pick up that grace and give it to themselves. All of that just to say, through your journey, through your highs and your lows, where has martial art, and when I say martial art, boxing is a martial art, wrestling is a martial art, because the definition of martial art is combative art. Any combative art, fencing is a martial art. Like everything's a martial art that is in that realm. How has martial art helped with this battle or struggle of addiction?
It is. I've always been able to go back to it and remember the lessons that I've been taught. And that's why I feel like I'm a little bit more successful than other people at overcoming my addictions. And it's not really overcoming because yes, they're always there and they're always going to be there. But I can always fall back because that's the one thing I know is an outlet for myself. It has literally taken me. I can remember sitting and thinking to myself, man, if you were your younger self, what would you want to say to yourself? You know, what would you want to do? I would always thought to myself, like, your younger self would probably punch you in the face. You know, you're a jackass, man. And then I was sitting there thinking, like, man, that's a battle, you know, a battle that is always, that's the first battle is the battle with yourself. And there's a lessons that I wouldn't have learned without myself.
That's a lovely answer. Let's change the gears for just a second to talk about time in the military. What did you learn in the military, martial art wise? How does that apply?
Well, martial arts wise, it was more of a combat scenario. Like, you know, you run out of ammo, what do you do next? Type deal. Or if you get, you know, sometimes I went to the Taliban and you know, get on top of you with a knife, stuff like that. What it was for me was, it was like real life scenarios. I mean, you know, back and forth between Cincinnati and there's been a lot of violent stuff happening there. See, the West Side was really awful growing up. There was a lot of, at nighttime, you didn't want to be a white person. Going to school, I had to fight a lot. Going back to school and stuff like that. So it was just like, it was a surreal moment. Here's this thing that has happened to you. And now that, you know, I'm here, this is how you deal with it.
I love it. I spoke with another gentleman who is a fellow martial artist and also a veteran. And I made it clear as a civilian, but a martial arts instructor, one of my perspectives is that anybody that protects our country or protects communities, meaning military, police officers, in my opinion, they have the hardest job in society and they are the least supported. I don't I don't understand why our system is in place that we are sending people to fight for us in any capacity and we're not better preparing them. I think that police officers, I think that military officials of their 40-hour work week, 8 to 10 hours a week should be spent on, and this is not me advocating for 8 to 10 hours should be spent on martial arts, but there's 8 to 10 hours should be spent on enriching themselves to better equip them for the job. And that does include that does include martial arts. That also includes verbal de-escalation technique. You know, that also includes stuff like getting a massage, learning to stretch, stuff that works on the betterment of the physical body itself. That also includes stuff that works on the mental. You know, that you've had a really rough life, brother. To take the stuff that you had that didn't have anything to do with war, that didn't have anything to do with the military, and put it in a bottle and carry it with you to the military is I can't fathom that. Do you know what I'm saying? You take a whole bunch of trauma and you box it up and you take it with you off of basic training. Like, first of all, it's extremely strong and very noble. I commend the strength that you have in being able to do that. But also, it's ridiculous that you're probably not the only one and that the system doesn't give you the tools to help make you better or more stable or whatever. Because a stable fighter is a better fighter. You're signing up to do the craziest. You're signing up for if I die, I die, you know, and you're signing up you're signing up for, if I have to kill to protect this system, as flawed as it may be, I love it enough to do that. And to protect all the people that I know, to protect all the people that I don't know, to, like, it's very commendable and it should be supported. And it is not, they're doing a job. Are they doing the best job? No, but they're doing something. Something's better than nothing. Okay, fine. That's a rant that I had about the military. So,
No, but I,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say that I completely agree. But a lot of the men and women that I was in there, not so much of the women, but a lot of the men, they joined the military because they was just fighting. They boxed that trauma up. A lot of them were leaving places like South Central, gaining pressure to get away from the game, unknowingly joined the largest gang in the world.
Yeah, yeah. What's the biggest takeaway from a martial arts or a fighting or a physical perspective that you got?
That no matter how damaged and broken that you are, or how bad that you're hurting, that pain is just weakness leaving the body, and that you can get up, you can do it. You don't have to lay there and die.
That really does change another lesson that I like to do, which is just saying that things like motivation, discipline, they are muscles that need to be exercised. And if they are not exercised, they grow weak. So the people that are out in the world going, I just don't have the motivation to exercise. I just don't have the motivation to do this project. You do have the motivation. You just have to show up. You have to do it. If it's not perfect, that's fine. Get out of your way and do it. Because if I get up and I make myself do it today, even if only for a half an hour, then tomorrow when the half an hour rolls around, I make myself do it again for a half an hour. And before long, I'm 45 minutes in, I'm an hour in, I'm 2 hours in. You show up for yourself for the motivation, and it will show up for you. And that leads into what technique shows up for you most. Like at your lowest, at my lowest, when I'm going through it, something happens, life throws me 100 problems, takes things away, et cetera, and I'm about to break. I go one of two different places. Immediately to kata, to martial art form, or to bow staff. Why do I do that? Kata is a martial arts story that you can, it's like a book. I can read the back, I can read the middle, I can just read parts, I can highlight it, I can write in the margins, I can only read the first chapter over and over and over again till I get it. And like a book, if I read it 5 years ago and then I pick it back up and I read it again, I'm surely going to get something different out of it 5 years later when my perspective has changed and I've grown. And the reason that I go to uh, the bow is because it was the first weapon that I learned. I learned it right as I was starting to teach. So I've known bow staff for 28 years almost, so it has that familiarity to it. It has that ability to, like, it's regrounding me in a sense. So, do you have any technique or system or anything that does that for you when you're at your lowest of lows, when you know have a crazy time that you can go back to something that helps ground you and go, oh, we fell down, but we can pick ourselves back up just because I'm
Oh yeah,
down bleeding, I'm not dead. Do you have anything like that?
oh yeah, I do. And it stems from boxing. What I like throwing the punches, man. And, you got to put your guard up, put your chin down, and you're backed into a corner, but you can get out of that corner. And, no matter you punch back, man. Can't just keep getting kicked. Defend yourself.
And you also had that probably because that's the first art that you did. So that's probably hold closer to your chest than other art. Wonderful. We should get mitts and you could work with mitts.
Yeah.
I have some somewhere, but I've moved, so they're boxed up or something. Who knows where they are? So now let's briefly, you and I have met and connected because one of my former students who also has his own journey into addiction and out of addiction and into addiction and out of addiction, who is currently sober and doing wonderful things, leading a program. He has brought me in, and you being one of his friends, being there, and you are now one of my students. And so the difference in this conversation versus the conversations I've had prior is that this is a student, and we are talking curriculum today, and we are talking conceptually how we can use that curriculum to better his life. And so the idea is that we're going to check in with you with some sort of a regular cadence. We are going to talk about techniques that are working. We're going to talk about things that may not be working or things that are not jiving. We're going to talk about how you're handling certain things, what techniques help and hinder certain things, and hopefully see a strong journey into. There are things that I always have in the back of my mind, some of which I will tell you, others of which you will not know until it comes to fruition. And then I'll go, that's exactly what I wanted. Shortly after meeting KG, as an example, I wanted him to do sort of what he's doing now. He's not there yet. I don't know if he's going to watch us or not. He probably will. He has a huge heart and he has a good ability to lead. And I would like to see him expand on that and continue that. I want to see him maybe get some sort of certification as a therapist assistant or something to where he can be more hands on in the counseling aspects. And in that same regard, I have ideas and plans for you. And I think that we should do that. Let's talk on frustration now that we know where we have the introduction. I want to know, do you have technique that help with frustration? Do you have philosophy that helps with frustration?
Very thing. I usually don't find myself getting too frustrated with things. Just, I take it into account. I'm like, okay, we're in this situation now. How do I overcome it? How do I adapt and how do I overcome it? And, a lot of it, and from what I've seen in my experience, especially being here, is that you got to take some type of charge and take the role. And if nobody's going to stand up and take the role of the leader, you're going to have to take it. It's very frustrating, but very rewarding at the same time. And to deal with the frustration, I just, going in, work out, go in there, do push-ups, anything I can to work it out in my body. I try not to hold it because I know I'll get a bad tension headache right back here in the back of my head if I hold on.
Okay. So then a better question is, any setbacks that you've ever had in your life, they're not frustration based. Are they then anger based? Are they lust based? Are they, where's the base for the setbacks that you've had?
The base would be anger. Just like putting something together from IKEA. I followed the instructions and then realizing that you got the top part of the paper turned upside down. You got to take it all back. And I immediately want to just smash the table because it's like it's a fucking piece of shit.
Okay. Okay. So we have a fuse that's so short that a table has now set us off.
Yes, I'm very quick to this.
What practices are you currently using to control?
And just breathing and get up to like. I'm sorry, everybody. There's a gnat in here. I've been trying to get flying around, but yeah, breathing techniques and a lot of if I get too frustrated, I try not to punch anything, but I will do some mindset stuff. Like I'll find a concrete wall and I'll take the back of my head and I'll smack it or punch the top of my knee. Right there above in that meat right there. The to some type of, so that I can get rid of that anger and not hurt anyone.
A lot of times, to the detriment of most people, they use a technique similar to what you're using, where they want to get rid of or dispel the energy. Okay? And I am not here to tell you things that are right or wrong, but I am telling you this. We are energy. So you can't expel it. It's always going to be. Like, that's the nature of energy. The nature of existence is that it exists. Therefore, it cannot not exist, right? Because it's existing. So if we get to a point of, instead of expelling it, we can get to a point of accepting it and letting it redirect. Energy is a flow state. So if we can change the flow from an aggressive flow that is about to go head first towards a table that was not set properly,
Uh-huh.
and instead redirect the flow to something else, it breaks a certain cycle that's within you. Because getting angry, doing something out of anger, punching a wall or yourself, what it does is it's a cycle of that energy. So the punch that releases energy, it doesn't release energy. It's taking the energy, doing what the energy is supposed to be doing, and then it resets in your body. So the anger's still there. So then you get angry because you forgot a piece of the table. You go punch a wall, you get that anger out, and then you go back to the table and you take the table apart and you're calm and you're trying your best and you're breathing through it and you put the piece back in and you put it back together, and then you're looking at the table and it's off kilter. That anger comes back, and it's going to come back maybe stronger than the first time because the same fucking table now has something else wrong with it, right? And so that's why we want to try and get to a point where, instead of dispersing the energy, because it never really disperses because we are energy, we want to get to a point to where we control that energy and reflow it. Okay? Remind me in class next week, and I will show you some Tai Chi techniques that I want you to try and use. And you don't even have to use them in the moment of intense anger is not when you need to use them at first. But what we want to do is, if you've had a day or a couple of hours where people are trying you and you haven't gotten all the way to I'm going to fucking lose my shit, but you can feel that anger building. You can feel the heat, the steam, and
Mm-hmm.
it's starting to make the noise where it's about to come out of your ears.
Yeah.
That's when you want to use it. And we're not trying to do anything other than to fold the energy into yourself and change it. Because it's a lot like, think about like washing a shirt in a stream. If you got a real muddy shirt and you go down to the riverbank, and like anybody that's ever camped, I'm not talking about some crazy off the grid shit, but you camp, you got muddy, rainy, nasty, and you got to wash this shirt because it can't go back in your bag. You're backpacking, you're on day 1 of 5. It can't go back in your bag all muddy because it'll get everything else muddy. So we go down to a stream or, something. You find a nice clean rock and you put it in the water and you pull it out of the water and scrub it onto the stone. Some of the dirt comes off, but not all of the dirt. And so then what do you got to do? You got to put it back in the stream. The stream does some of the work and takes some of the dirt away. Pulling it out of the water takes some of the dirt away. Rubbing it against the rock takes some of the dirt away. Back into the water. And it's a continual process. That's the same way with energy. Any energy that we feel, anger, lust, horny, happy, sad, boredom, taking the energy and folding it back into itself, your energy washes it. Your energy is the stream. And at first, that stream has a lot of fucking anger in it. But eventually we can get to a point where that stream has less anger. That stream has less anger. Okay? So let me ask you, what's next for you as a martial artist? Where do you want to go? You said you see it as you're a martial artist for a lifetime. So what would you like to study next, learn next, do next? Is it, and there's no right or wrong answers to these questions. If you want to compete in grappling, that's an answer. If you want to paint a painting, that is also an answer, you know?
Yeah. What I would like and what I've always envisioned myself as a martial artist is, you spoke of Tai Chi, and that's what I would like, is to master some type of Tai Chi, moving with some Tai Chi and stuff like that. Because I found that wave hands like clouds is one of the best defenses I can find. A barrage of.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. It's also commendable because someone that has anger issues, it's hard to do. Tai Chi's hard to do for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's good. You need it. For me, it wasn't an anger issue that was hard, but like I have a really bad ADHD, and to sit in and lock in on Tai Chi, that it's a it's a task. It is a task. And like even, I've been doing Tai Chi for quite a while. I've been doing Tai Chi for about 27 years or so. And I still have moments of I can't really why can't I do this Tai Chi? But I know back to discipline for those that are listening. You have to show up for yourself. So the moment that you're saying, I don't really want to do that, that's the moment that you have to say, but I will do half an hour. I will do that. That's how you exercise that muscle of whether it be discipline or motivation, whatever label we want to give it. That's how you exercise that muscle. So it's really important to check in with yourself. And when you're like, I don't fucking feel like doing that, that's time to do it. It's time to do it. That goes for everything. That goes for diet, goes for exercise. It goes for being a decent person, whether it be a partner to a lover or just a friend. When you see somebody call and you're like, I don't want to talk to them, I need to talk to them and see what they have to say. When you're around doing something and somebody pops into your mind, that's when you need to reach out to them. And exercising those things does exercise the discipline needed. Yeah, I could teach you a lot of Tai Chi. I actually had thought about that we should do two separate classes, and the people that don't want to do martial art, like because they might not want to wrestle, or some people are germophobic, some people are not wanting to have that type of interaction within a class. Tai Chi is silent. You put the music on and you meditate and you just follow the movement. And so like we could maybe do another class that's just Tai Chi and you just shut the fuck up, calm the fuck down and do it. So we'll talk about that some more. Maybe we talk with KG about that. What do you want to see from yourself through martial arts? And that could mean you want to eventually coach or teach. That could mean that you want to compete. And then my answer has always been self-reflection, number one. And then number two is self-actualization. And what I mean is I've always wanted to be more and more introspective, turning in not just to observe my physical body, but also my emotional body, how I am emotionally reacting to something, and then physically, how do I feel? Are my hips tight, or, is my spine not doing what I need it to do for the day? And then the self-actualization comes after the self-preservation in that my hips are tight. I need to stretch my hips more. My spine wasn't feeling good. Oh, I need to do that. I was feeling emotionally, energetically low. Why is that? And what can I do to fix that? So that's my answer. You don't have to have my answer.
Yeah, what I would like to see for myself is first is mastering myself, like you were saying. But I would love nothing more to coach a good boxer. to get them to the point where I'm there. So
Wonderful. Comedy. How long you been doing comedy?
this is my third year going.
Awesome. Awesome. And so you're like doing open mics and stuff like that?
Doing open mics. I really don't have enough time to attend the open mics with the schedule that they have here. But I do get doing stuff like that. And it's just like anything, it's a muscle that you have to learn. And if you don't use it, it atrophies.
So I'm walking you into a trap here, just so you know. I'm walking you into a question that is similar to a question that I have asked KG. Okay. So I asked KG specifically, how do you work with addict and not relapse? Because you're in the drama, you're in the environment, and you're around all of the destructive parts as a job. And he said that he thinks that the answer is because people rely on him to stay strong. So staying strong does it. So then I ask you, how does the comedian do comedy? Going mostly to places that are bars where people are drinking and people are doing drugs and stay sober.
That's a struggle within itself. It really is. Because I remember when I first started doing comedy, it was at an open mic, wasn't even for comedians, it was for musicians. And when I got up there, I kind of just ruined the whole vibe. And I remember getting off the stage, and it was like, there's another open mic that are open to the spoken word right down the street if you'd like to attend that one. I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. So it was difficult at first because the nervous. It wasn't a fear of public speaking because I've always been in some sort of eye of the public, but it was more of nervousness of me like knowing that I'm gonna stutter or like bomb, and that within itself was like, oh man, I have to drink. So I had to break myself from that because I remember getting on stage at the Louisville Comedy Club, and I was completely obliterated. And I kind of, if I don't slow down, I speak really fast. I kind of sound like Boomhauer. I can speak really fast and kind of, and I got a thick tongue, so I'm kind of muffled as it is. And I just had to learn, like, you can't do that. Like, that's something that you're not able to do. It's okay for them, to loosen up and have a drink or something like that, but you, Josh, you're not that person. You're going to have to get up first over. You're going to have to be able to speak up. A lot of times, because I'm a quieter person, if I speak any louder than this, it sounds like very commanding. I had to learn that that was okay to speak up because no one can hear you on a mic when you're speaking one loud. You got to speak up and actually say, what you're saying. Say it with your chest.
Don't hesitate to say this to somebody that's been addicted to pills, but you may or may not know that there is a way. And I'm going to get up and I'll be right back. I grab this pill bottle. I've been doing this since I was 14 because I've been public speaking. You take a pill bottle, and this is my prescription, and this is not painkillers. Okay. And typically, I also do this with an empty bottle, but I don't have one present. And you put it between your teeth like this, and then you have to enunciate everything. And what it does is it makes it works your vocal and your muscles in your jaw in a way that you do enunciate and are not mush mouthed. So feel free to pick that up and use that if you don't.
I'm the most person that can use that because that's probably some of the best public speaking advice I've received.
Yeah, I've been teaching since I was 14, and I've had probably 3 or 4 classes where people were like, "What? What'd you say? Huh?" And I was like, "I'm fucking tired of that." And I asked the pastor at my father's church what he does for public speaking. He's like, "I just put a pill bottle in my mouth and talk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day." He's like, sometimes I do it in the shower, sometimes I do it in the mirror so that I can like really watch what I'm saying. And can I hear it? Can I see that I'm attempting to enunciate? And then after you get that done, relax your jaw, stretch it out, and then do the same thing. Like just say a couple of things enunciated and speaking clearly, projecting. It does help, because I'm also from Kentucky where we don't always wear shoes, so.
Yeah, that's what people down here, like Northern Kentucky, is where I'm from, and like they speak more of there's kind of like a mix between country and city.
Mhm.
And down here though, it's a full country plain.
Right, right. It's wild because like we're in a city. Like you say down here, and like we're not in the woods. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not in the hills of Appalachia. Like, so I don't get that. But anyway, okay. So is there anything else that you want to say about your journey in the current present moment that it exists right now?
Yeah, my journey's been a roller coaster, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. And as much as as much as everything has happened, it's just added to my character, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing who I become. Because I've never had, I had 6 years sober, but it was more like I was still on all these emotional stresses and stuff like that. I was just sick. It was just terrible. They had their own issues and stuff like that, which I had to deal with, and I had to learn to walk basically on eggshells. And I'm just looking forward to seeing myself grow as an individual and knowing myself more and loving myself.
Awesome. Brother, it is extremely attainable. I haven't known you very long, and I already know that you have very sharp, and those are detrimental to pulling yourself up, to whatever's next, to moving forward, to not being stuck in uh, a destructive pattern. And I am proud of you, and I do believe in you, and I believe that you can do it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play it by ear, but follow up with Mr. Josh in like 3 months, 4 months, maybe 6 months, just to see how he's improving, to see what he has done and what he's looking to do next. So, do you have any sort of social media presence where you are promoting your comedy? Yes or no? You can tell the people where to find you.
Yes, you can find me at on all platforms. Yeshua Bush, it's spelled YEHOSHUA, USA. On all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on all of them, spelled the same way. And we got a show here at 3620 West Broadway this Friday. If you would, anybody would like to attend, you're more than welcome to come. Look forward to seeing all of you.
I'm going to be there because
Hopefully, I don't.
it's 7 o'clock. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to be there. So, okay. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for being a part of my journey, and I'm excited to see where the relationship of teacher student takes us, and I'm just excited to see what happens going forward. And for everybody, keep. Hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope that Josh's audio was clear. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties, and I did some things in post to try and up his levels and make it as clear as possible. I also talked more on this episode than I typically do. There's going to be an ebb and flow that exists where sometimes I don't say very much, and sometimes I talk at nauseum. Just is what it is. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope that you can use the concepts and the tools, even if you don't use the specific means for recovery. I hope that you can take some motivation from this. I hope that if you are suffering from addiction and listening to this podcast, that you know that there is hope and that you can come out the other side stronger, healthier, more aware. I also hope that you just found enjoyment in this. I hope that Josh's journey is smooth sailing, and I hope that when we sit down with him next time that we have a positive result. If he does relapse, we will sit down still and through because this is a study on him as a student and what a student looks like. I hope that you're suffering from addiction, you reach out. If you are in the Louisville, Kentucky, or near the Louisville, Kentucky area, please DM me or email me, and I will get you in touch with some wonderful people at the recovery center that I teach at, and they can help you. I can help you get on the right path, and you can come to my class, and I would love to help you there. If you are a martial artist and you are listening to this podcast and you would like to come on and tell your story, I would love to have you. Please email me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. And always, my friends, keep kicking.